I'm Kriste, 62.
Sitting in my old office, which has been restored to its former state, I'm surrounded by the comforting familiarity of the chipped coffee mug and the resilient small succulent. The morning sun filters through the windows, casting a warm glow on the financial reports that show our company not only surviving but thriving. It's been a long journey, and I'm still processing the events that led us here. 6 months ago, I was fired from the company I'd helped build from the ground up. My daughter-in-law, Ava, had recently become the CEO, and in a cruel twist, she decided to get rid of me in front of everyone. "We don't want outdated people in the company," she'd said, her voice cold and cutting. I remember the silence in the conference room, the weight of everyone's eyes on me. It was like a public execution. I'd always been a strong woman. I'd lost my husband when my son, Ethan, was just 13, and I'd raised him on my own while working my way up in the company. I'd started as a junior accountant, and over the years, I'd become the vice president. I'd dedicated my life to this place, but in an instant, it was all taken away. As I packed my things, I couldn't help but think about Ava. She'd entered our lives 3 years ago like a storm. Ethan, who was 35 at the time, was immediately smitten with her. She was beautiful, with long, dark hair and an air of sophistication. She had an MBA from a top-tier business school and claimed to be in between corporate consulting jobs. At first, I tried to be welcoming. I wanted my son to be happy. But there was always something about her that didn't sit right with me. When Ethan brought her home for dinner for the first time, she seemed perfect on the surface. She complimented my cooking, asked about our family history, and even helped with the dishes. But I noticed the way she looked at our modest home, with a hint of disdain. Over the next few months, I watched as Ava slowly changed Ethan. He started dressing more formally, wearing expensive suits that she'd picked out. His apartment, which had always been a cozy and lived-in place, was transformed into a sterile, magazine-worthy space. He began to miss our weekly lunches, always with an excuse about business dinners or trips that Ava had planned. When they announced their engagement 18 months later, I tried to be supportive, but Ava made it difficult. She would ask for my opinion on wedding details, only to dismiss it with a polite but firm, "We're going for a more modern aesthetic." The night before the wedding, I called my sister, Lily. "I feel like I'm losing him," I confessed, tears streaming down my face. Lily tried to comfort me, saying that it was normal for the relationship to change when a child got married. After the wedding, things only got worse. Ava became more controlling, and Ethan seemed to be under her spell. Then, one fateful day, she fired me. I drove home in a daze, my mind racing. When I got home, I received a text from one of the younger employees, Mia. She told me that Ava had called an emergency meeting after I left and accused me of embezzling funds. Furious and determined to clear my name, I logged into the company's financial system. To my shock, I found a series of unauthorized transfers over the past 6 months. Each transfer had 2 authorization signatures, Ava's and what appeared to be Ethan's. I printed out the records, my hands shaking. Just then, Ethan burst through the door, angry and confused. He'd heard conflicting stories from Ava and the employees. I sat him down and showed him the evidence. At first, he refused to believe it. "Ava wouldn't do that," he said. But as he looked at the records, his face paled. "This isn't my signature," he whispered. We realized that Ava had been stealing from the company and forging Ethan's signature to cover it up. Ethan was devastated. He'd hired a private investigator 6 months ago, suspecting something was off but hoping he was wrong. The investigator had found out that Ava's real name was Victoria and that she'd been fired from her previous job for embezzlement. She'd also had 2 previous marriages to wealthy men, both ending in divorces, where she'd walked away with large settlements. Even worse, she'd faked a pregnancy and a miscarriage to manipulate Ethan into proposing and getting married quickly. The pregnancy test, the ultrasound photos, everything was fake. Ethan was heartbroken, but he was also angry. He was determined to expose her and save the company. We went to the office early the next morning to gather more evidence. In Ava's desk, we found a folder full of emails between her and her real boyfriend, Ryan. They were discussing their plan to frame Ethan for the embezzlement. When Ava arrived at the office and saw us, she tried to lie her way out of it, but we had too much evidence. She finally admitted to having an affair but still denied the embezzlement. Ethan told her that she had to return the money, sign a confession, and leave quietly. She refused, saying that we'd never be able to prove anything. But we knew that the FBI was already on the case. In the end, Ava was arrested, and the company started to recover. The Henderson Group contract came through, which was a huge boost for our business. Ethan also started seeing someone new, a kind-hearted teacher named Sophia. He introduced me to her, and I could see that she made him happy. I'm still in awe of how quickly our lives changed. Ava's greed and deception almost destroyed everything we'd built, but in the end, truth and justice prevailed. I've learned that sometimes we have to go through the darkest of times to appreciate the light. And I'm grateful for the second chance we've been given, both for the company and for our family. Now, as I look out of the window at the parking lot, I'm filled with a sense of peace. The road ahead is bright, and I'm ready to face whatever comes our way, together with Ethan and the rest of the team. I'm also curious about you. What would you do if you were in my place? Have you ever been through something similar? Comment below and share your stories.